Welcome to the Exam Room Live, brought to you by the Physicians Committee. Hi, I am the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll, and this is the healthiest half hour anywhere online today. Appreciate you taking some time out of your day to join us right here on Facebook and on YouTube. We will be doing our best to educate and inspire you for the next 30 minutes. On tap today, we are going to be looking ahead to the long weekend and the annual 4th of July hot dog eating Gorge Fest. What toll can crushing more than 70 hot dogs in 10 minutes take on your health? Well, we're going to tally that up. And say you want to have a cookout yourself, but meat, that's just not your jam. No worries. Dietitian Lee Crosby, aka the Fiber Queen, is here with some grilling and chilling tips that won't be sending you to the hospital. Hopefully. Lee, looking forward to catching up with you and getting some healthy grilling tips. And get your questions ready, because we are going to be opening up the doctor's mailbag in a big way with Dr. Vanita Rahman. She is here to answer all things nutrition. So load up that mailbag. Start posting your questions in the comments right now. We will be answering as many of your questions as we possibly can on the show today. That starts in just a little bit. Dr. Rahman, looking forward to seeing you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Oh, what a pleasant smile. And all right, before we get to any of that, let's get you caught up with what is happening in the world. Here are your health headlines for Thursday, July 2nd, 2020. And we do start with the coronavirus, as infection rates continue to soar nationwide, and the number of new cases topped 50,000 for the first time on Wednesday. Californians accounting for nearly 1 out of every 5 of those cases, as the state broke its own single-day record. Also setting records yesterday, Texas, Arizona, North Carolina, and Georgia. Meanwhile, as the virus shows no signs of slowing down in July, the numbers for June are in, and more than 800,000 new cases were reported in the U.S., according to the Washington Post. That's a nearly 50% increase since the beginning of the pandemic. The total number of confirmed COVID-19 cases now stands at nearly 2.7 million in the U.S., with nearly 128,000 deaths. Sadly, a new report suggests that the true death toll, though, is likely tens of thousands of cases higher. A new report in JAMA finds the total number of deaths in the U.S. from March and May through May was nearly 30% higher than during the same time in a normal year. Of the 122,000 so-called excess deaths, 95,000 were attributed to COVID-19. But researchers believe that much of the difference can also be attributed to the virus, as many states lacked adequate testing capabilities during that time. And the stress of the pandemic and subsequent lockdown also appear to have taken a toll on our mental health. A new study out of China finds a growing number of adults are struggling with depression and anxiety. 28% say they experienced depressive symptoms between March and May, while nearly 32% reported feeling anxiety. To put that into perspective, on any normal year, the rate of depression here in the U.S. is just 8%. And the feelings also now creating another problem with insomnia, as 3 out of 10 people are saying that they're having difficulty getting a quality night's sleep. But in happier news, business is booming at Black-owned vegan cookie companies in California. Maya's Cookies is in the midst of a 1,000% surge in sales of its gourmet treats. Company owner Maya Madsen tells Veg News that she's seen an incredible increase in the number of people supporting Black-owned businesses to fight back against racial inequality and injustice. Among the lineup of fancy varieties sold by the San Diego-based confectioner, chocolate chip s'mores, funfetti, marble fudge, and a gluten-free classic chocolate chip. Moving on. Every 4th of July, the nation gathers to gawk at 2 things: fireworks and the annual Gorge Fest, known as the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Competition. Competitive eaters gather for the ill-advised challenge to see who can eat the most Franks in just 10 minutes. And would you believe that the winner a couple of years ago shoved 74 hot dogs down their gullet? So what is the price to pay for that? What does that do to their health? Well, let's take a look at some numbers here. The 74 hot dogs in 10 minutes, that breaks down to 22,200 calories, 1,332 grams of fat, 444 grams of saturated fat, 74 grams of trans fats. You see that listed there. This is just incredible. A heart-stopping 54,242 grams of sodium, and an artery clogging 2,664 grams of cholesterol. Again, all of that being ingested in just 10 minutes. So aside from a wicked case of indigestion, what does that blowout do for the body? For that, I want to welcome Dr. Vanita Rahman to the exam room live. Doc, under no circumstance does this seem like it's a good idea. What exactly would happen to a person if they eat that many hot dogs in such a short time?
Yeah, thank you for discussing this. These all-you-can-eat contests are often a part of celebrations, and they're sort of marketed as a fun, friendly competition. But there's a serious health consequence to it. So let's just go through these numbers. So 74 hot dogs equals over 22,000 calories. If the average person is consuming 2,000 calories a day, this is over 11 days worth of calories. So we're getting 11 days worth of calories in just mere minutes. And then over 1,300 grams of fat, that's almost 12,000 calories in just fat. Again, 6 days worth of calories from just fat. And then saturated fat is 444 grams. And that's almost 4,000 calories from saturated fat alone, which comes to about 20 days worth of saturated fat. So the dietary guidelines recommend that we should limit our intake of fat to about 10% of our daily calories. And when someone is ingesting this much saturated fat, they're getting about 20 days worth of saturated fat in one sitting. And this is really problematic because we know saturated fat will raise our cholesterols and drastically increase the risk for cardiovascular disease. And even more disturbing, 74 hot dogs equal 74 grams of trans fats. Now, these are fats that are particularly problematic because they have no health benefit. They lower our good cholesterol, they raise our bad cholesterol, significantly increase the risk for cardiovascular disease. And according to the federal government, we should be avoiding these as much as possible. So this is clearly way too much. And then over 2,600 grams of cholesterol, so just a whopping amount of cholesterol. This is bound to drastically increase cholesterol levels. It may increase cardiovascular disease risk significantly. And as if those numbers weren't bad enough, 74 hot dogs equal over 54,000 grams of sodium. That is 23 days worth of sodium in one sitting, and that will send our blood pressure way, way up. And if someone has heart failure or kidney disease, that's going to cause serious problems because fluid may back up into their lungs or their legs. They can't breathe. And lastly, 74 hot dogs contain 296 grams of sugar, and I measured this. This is 2 cups worth of sugar from something that we don't think of as a high sugar food. So it's really nothing nutritious in that meal. And all these nutrients, if we can call them that, are going to wreak havoc on our health, from cholesterol to blood pressure to blood sugar, and not to mention the weight gain that will follow.
Donna, our director, Donna Steele, if you could pull up these numbers one more time for us, just so people can see. I mean, this is just really extraordinary. You see the winner. This is Joey Chestnut. Okay, he is a legendary competitive eater. This guy doesn't have a particularly large frame, and so Dr. Rahman, I would imagine that just also in addition to the nutrition aspect of this, just the stress of gorging on that much of anything in such a short time frame, that's going to put a lot of stress on the body, wouldn't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's going to cause all sorts of GI problems. He may have severe stomach pain. He may develop, bouts of constipation or diarrhea, depending on how his body metabolizes this. He may develop headaches from eating so fast, so quickly. It just, the list goes on and on. There's nothing nutritious going on here, and we're not nourishing the body. We're just force feeding it a lot of unnecessary macronutrients that are so harmful for us.
Well, bless his colon, as somebody close to me once said. By the way, I did a little bit of calculation on my own. I was poking around, and there's a website called Running with Miles who calculated how far Joey Chestnut would have to run in order to burn off those 74 hot dogs. That was the winning total 2 years ago, I should say. So how long would he have to run? At least 119 miles. So, to put that into perspective, that is like running from New York City to Atlantic City, or from Washington, D.C. to Wildwood, New Jersey. Never been, but now I know that's 119 miles away. And for our West Coast viewers, that is it's just like running from Los Angeles to San Diego. So you do all of that in 10 minutes, and then you have to run 120 miles, give or take, in order to burn that off. That really goes to the notion that really, hey, you can't exercise off those hot dogs. You can't exercise off that trip through the drive-through. And Doc, I think that this is kind of when I was overweight, what I was missing, like this never clicked, is that nutrition is really so critical, because everything else comes after it. I would say as far as weight loss, like it's at least 85% of the game.
Yeah, definitely. And, the other thing that's disturbing about these types of contests is they're normalizing binge eating. They're normalizing eating unhealthy foods and making it mainstream and acceptable, and then sort of conflating food with entertainment. So it just sets up a bad precedent for everyone going forward.
All right. So do not try that at home, everybody. Definitely don't try that at home. If you have a question about the hot dog eating contest or anything else nutrition-wise, go ahead and post that in the comment section. And Dr. Rahman, you'll be back in just a little bit to start answering some of those for us.
Absolutely.
All right. So if you were watching this, there is a better than good chance that you won't be eating any hot dogs, let alone competing in a hot dog eating competition this weekend. But nonetheless, you may still want to fire up that grill. So the question becomes, what can I eat instead? I still want the classics, but I don't want that cholesterol. And for some answers and some ideas, we turn to the fiber queen, Dietitian Lee Crosby, who has some healthier options that will keep your arteries flowing freely this 4th of July. Lee, beyond just this enormous savings of fat and calories, what else is really wrong with throwing burgers and hot dogs like this on the grill?
I know. I was just thinking, like, on top of all the sort of horrors that you guys were just discussing, we also have the issue that red and processed meats are linked with colorectal cancer, to the point that the World Health Organization has classified them as known and probable carcinogens, respectively. So he ate 74 hot dogs, which are a known carcinogen. So that concerns me. And also, red meat is actually linked to breast cancer, which I'm guessing those are pork hot dogs. So I don't think men can get breast cancer, actually. So who knows? Anyways, one of the reasons that they have so many carcinogens is, well, there are a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is that the way they are cooked, and grilling can be a particular issue, particularly with the sort of flesh foods. So there are two main issues when it comes to grilling meat products. The first one is polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, and the second one is heterocyclic amines. Yeah, say all of those 3 times fast, I dare you.
No, you go right ahead. I'll try later.
Okay, we'll just minimize how much. So we'll call the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons PAHs. So those form when you have meat grilled over, hot coals, and fat or juice from the meat drips onto those coals. That causes flames and smoke, and the smoke actually contains the PAHs that stick to the meat. Now, this can actually happen with vegetables too, but clearly they're not dripping juices, but it's a lesser extent. Plus, vegetables and plant foods that you throw on the grill are actually loaded with cancer fighters usually, so not a concern on that side of things. Heterocyclic amines, or HCAs, those are exclusively an issue when it comes to grilling meat products, flesh products. So why would it only happen when you grill meat? So they form when the amino acids, or the building blocks of proteins, and the small amounts of sugars in the meat combine with creatine or creatinine. Now, those are substances that are only found in muscle. They all react together at high temperatures, right where the heat hits the meat. And basically, that's where these HCAs form. And again, this isn't just a burger thing. This happens with fish. Chicken is actually one of them, that's a major concern when you're grilling chicken. So these are some really great reasons to just kind of back off and grill the healthier way with some plants.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about those specific plants here. What are we going to put on the grill instead of those burgers and dogs?
So we're going to put on the grill burgers and dogs, but they're going to be much healthier versions, right? So first up, okay, if you want to do a homemade, like how do you do a homemade veg hot dog? So I was skeptical of this at first, but it's actually surprisingly good. Smoky carrot dogs. There is a recipe on pcrm.org/recipes. I challenge you to check it out if you were sort of like me and were like, wait, what? It actually works out really nicely. And of course, there are also like store-bought versions. So things like Smart Dogs or Tofu Pups. And you can always do the sort of standard toppings, right? Ketchup, mustard, relish. But if you want to go next level, you can do chili dogs, which I'm a huge fan of. So you can make your own bean chili, obviously, huge fan. Make it nice and thick so it stays on there. Or Amy's and McDougal both have a canned prefab version if you want to not mess with it. And Amy's also makes one that's lighter in sodium. So that's something. And then if you're not more of the dog person, but you're more of the burger person, we have options for you too. So I'm guessing some of you have maybe tried, or Chuck, I don't know if you've tried grilling a veggie burger and it just kind of like collapsed on your grill.
It did not end well. I'm not going to lie to you.
Right. I know.
It just did not go well at all.
Yeah. It's just a bad feeling. Like, get so excited and no. So luckily there are things you can do. Now, I have not actually tried this recipe, but I have it on very good authority that it actually works. So this is the grillable veggie burger recipe from Minimalist Baker. Now, it's a little higher in fat because it has walnuts in it. But again, special occasion, 4th of July. So I think that's a good one to try if you want to make it at home. For store-bought, the ones I've personally had the best luck with that are also on the healthier side, of course, are the Amy's. So Amy's All-American burgers and their Sonoma burger. That Sonoma burger is also gluten-free and soy-free if that's an issue for you. They're a little higher in fat than we normally recommend, but they are much lower in fat than some of the other meat replacement burgers that are out there, and certainly much better than meat burgers. And they hold together really nicely on the grill. So, but if you don't want to do either of those things, marinated mushrooms, portobello mushroom caps. We have a super easy recipe for those on pcrm.org/recipes. So you can just make it nice and easy. But we're not quite done yet.
Oh, so, no, of course not.
I know. Well, we have some pro tips again, because you want these to turn out, right? Especially, well, I guess we're not really having people over anymore, but even if it's just the people in your germ circle, you want it to, you want it to turn out when you put them on the grill. I know, germ circle, right? It sounds so much better than the social distancing group or whatever people are calling it these days. It does. So first tip is when you're buying the veggie burger, check the package instructions for grilling instructions. If there aren't any, I can tell you from experience, take that as a sign. So make sure that the package has grilling instructions on it. I've learned that the hard way. The other nice thing, you don't have to thaw. As a matter of fact, you shouldn't thaw frozen veggie burgers. They can go straight from the freezer onto a preheated grill, which is super handy. And then you're going to want to only flip them and do it carefully one time. So, just decide, okay, I feel like it's done. And then surprise if it is or not, just go ahead and keep it to that one time on flipping. So those are my tips for grilling the sort of the entrees.
I want to go back just to the carrot dog for a second. I want to meet the person who thought this up in the first place, because this is some of the most creative, innovative kitchen techniquing that I have ever heard of in my entire life.
I think that's the technical term.
Who thought this up?
I don't know,
wow.
But you boil the carrots and there's this smoky marinade. And so they hang out in there and they take on, it's kind of like what tofu can do, where it just sort of takes on whatever it's soaking in. And then weirdly, when you cook it, the texture is kind of, it's not the same, but it works. It works. Yeah,
truly.
I know.
That person is the Einstein of edibles. It's just incredible. All right. So we've got the burgers, we've got the dogs, but now we need something to go with it. Side dishes. They can make and break an entire meal. What do you have on your plate?
They can. So, it's summertime. Sweet corn is finally in season. So grilled corn, there's the easy, slow way and the slightly harder, fast way, if you want to do that. So The easy, slow way is you grill it right in the husk. So you preheat your grill, you put them on there anywhere for 20 to 30 minutes, and you turn them every 5 minutes until the stuff inside is tender. The nice part about that is if you're the one who is cooking, that means that you don't have to shuck the corn. That's the problem of the person who eats it. And actually, it's really easy to shuck once it comes off the grill. If it's been hanging out, if you get it at a farm market, great, put it right on the grill. If it's been hanging out at the store, you might want to soak the ears in their husks first, just to make sure you don't have anything catch on fire. We don't need that. We all like our eyebrows, and then, singeing your eyebrows off. Come on. Nothing. Okay.
Careful, everybody.
Exactly. And then the second one, you can always shuck the corn, just hit it really briefly with a cooking spray, like a Pam, or, they have ones that have no additives. And then you can cook it directly on the grill over medium heat. And that's where you're going to turn it every 2 or 3 minutes until you get it where you want it. That's usually about 10 minutes total. Another side that does not actually involve grilling, but that I really love, I make it every July 4th because it's so easy and it just looks so darn festive, this is from the blog that I haven't updated in a long time, but Veggie Quest, it's on there. It's an easy red, white, and blue salad, and it's so simple. It's watermelon and blueberries, and then to get the stars for the red, white, and blue, you take jicama, which if you've never tried it, I highly recommend. And I actually have a series of posts on jicama because it's one of these unsung veggie heroes, rich in prebiotics, all these great things. And if you slice it thin, you can cut it in any shape you want with cookie cutters. So just get some cute little star cookie cutters, and then you have your watermelon and your blueberries and your little white stars in there. And if you wanted to kick it up, you can do a little sweetened lime juice and fresh mint over the top, but you don't need to do that. It's so cute on the table. And again, y'all, I think know that I'm into cute food. So this meets that criteria.
Jicama, that's one of those things that I found can kind of absorb the flavor of whatever it's going with or whatever seasonings you're using. It's kind of bland on its own, has that nice crunch, but definitely will take on whatever flavor really you need it to.
And whatever shape you want it to, which again is critical if you're into the cute food camp. So this trick will work for anything. If it's in the holidays, you can do little snowmen, jicama, like you can do whatever you want. So again, that's just me kind of being a little dorky with I have a ton of cookies. I never make cookies, but I have so many cookie cutters.
Oh, what?
It's a little, that's a whole episode.
Oh man. Yeah. That requires
a giant box of cookie cutters. I do not understand. I just really like them.
All right. Everybody's got a thing. All right. So we'll do a show on psychology here in the future, and then we're going to dive into that one.
Love it.
All right. Last thing, desserts, right? So we just kind of talked a lot about that, which sounds sweet and delicious, but now let's talk about actual desserts. Like, are there desserts that you can grill that are plant-based?
There are. So you can go sort of entry level and you can grill some peaches or plums. You cut them in half. If you want to get fancy, there's a grilled peaches with a sweet balsamic glaze recipe on PCRM. Or you can just put them on the grill. Just cut them in half, take the pit out, put them on the grill face down and get them warm and yummy. My favorite is to grill bananas in the skin. So actually the only way personally, it's not important, but I can't eat raw bananas, but I can eat them cooked. So I love this because they're a huge treat for me. You don't peel the banana. You slice it lengthwise down the center. And so that you have a little slit, right? You don't go all the way through the banana. You just want to have a little pocket in your banana inside its peel. And what you do is you're going to crimp some foil around the base of that. So you basically have this little boat that'll sit up on its own. And then you're going to open up the hull. And in that little slit, you're going to sprinkle some cinnamon. And if you're feeling decadent because it's holiday, you can do a few, we'll sprinkle those mini dairy-free chocolate chips. And then you're going to kind of wrap the whole package up so that it sits upright because you don't want to spill out your chocolate chips. That would be a travesty. And you're going to grill it for about 5 minutes until the banana softens and the chocolate melts. And then off the grill, forget about it. It's so good.
Forget about it. I love it so much.
So tasty.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Dietitian Lee Crosby, thank you so very much. The Fiber Queen. I hope that you have a wonderful 4th of July. You grill up something tasty and delicious. Get creative with those cookie cutters and jicama, would you?
I absolutely will. I'll report back.
All right. Please do. Please do. All right. Lee Crosby, everybody. All right. Time now to open up the doctor's mailbag. So if you have something on your mind, nutrition related, go ahead and post that in the comment section. Now for this, we are going to welcome back Dr. Vanita Rahman. She is the expert on all of this. So I'm very much looking forward to diving into your questions here today. And Dr. Rahman, let's start with a great question from Steve. Steve is wondering regarding the cholesterol. We were talking about that so much with the hot dogs. He wants to know, is it possible to have cholesterol that is too low?
Mhm. So, not that we know. There are some families where there may be a genetic predisposition to have really low levels of cholesterol. But as far as we know, it's not a problem if everything else looks okay. It can be a problem if one type of cholesterol is low, but other ones are high. But generally speaking, the cholesterol that we're targeting is LDL cholesterol. We want to keep that as low as possible.
Great question here from Anu. Wants to know, so we're not drinking dairy milk, but what is the healthiest plant milk that you know of?
Oh gosh, where do I begin? There are so many. Everyone has their favorite. My personal favorite is soy milk. I love it in tea and coffee. I make frozen ice cream with it. I'll make an occasional smoothie with it. I use it in my oatmeal. It's great. Other great options are almond milk. Some people really prefer that. You can make your own at home. It's really easy, or you can buy it commercially. And now we have so many other varieties like cashew milk, hemp milk. These are all great options. Some people really like flax milk, especially with cereal. So it's really a matter of experimenting, trying them in different things. I know for me, I'm very particular about what milk I take in what type of food. So I would encourage you to go out there, try the different milks and see what works best for you.
This is an interesting comment, not so much of a question, but definitely a comment from Bal. He said, Joey Chestnut is only 36, but he looks 50. Joey is the hot dog eating competition. I mean, I would imagine that if you're eating an unhealthy diet, you are going to look like you are aging a little bit quicker. Have there been studies on that? Do you know?
Yeah, I don't know if we can say with definitive research behind us that that's the case, but what we can say is that eating poorly or not eating a nutritious diet increases the risk for chronic diseases like high blood pressure or diabetes or high cholesterol, cardiovascular disease, autoimmune disease. And all of these things cause damage to the body. They're associated with high rates of inflammation. So it makes sense theoretically that it is sort of accelerating the aging process that way. But we don't have those randomized control trials yet. I don't know if we ever will, but we do know that chronic disease is clearly linked to diet. And, the more chronic disease burden someone has, the faster they will presumably age.
Here's a great question from Lee. Came in just at 12:30. Another Lee, not our Lee. Wants to know, can you drink smoothies while trying to lose weight, or will it slow down the process?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, Lee. So the answer is it depends. Will smoothies cause weight gain or make it harder to lose weight? It really depends on two things: what's going into the smoothie and how much of it we're consuming. If you're trying to lose weight, I recommend limiting your smoothies to just fruits and vegetables or some kind of vegan milk in them. Avoid adding nuts or seeds or avocados. These high fat foods will lead to weight gain. And then also being mindful of the amount of smoothie. If you're trying to watch your weight, limit it to about an 8-ounce. That used to be our serving size, but with time it's increased to 12 or 16 or 20 ounces. So really avoiding those high fat ingredients and being mindful of the portion size, both will play a key role.
All right. Kathy here is wondering about beans, rice, potatoes, and pasta. She wants to know, is there a certain amount of those that we should be eating every day?
Yeah, eat as much as you enjoy eating. Beans, rice, pasta, they're all nutritious. Try to aim for 1 to 3 cups of beans a day. Again, some of this depends on your size. A 200-pound individual will need more than a 100-pound individual. So we want to be mindful of that. And then for beans, for rice and pasta, try to stick with whole grain ones like brown rice or red rice or black rice. Avoid white rice. That's less nutritious and less likely to leave us feeling full. So we end up eating more of it. And then for pasta, I advise sticking with whole grain varieties like whole wheat pasta or spelt spaghetti. These are great options to explore.
Cynthia wants to know, what are your favorite foods to put on the grill?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Well, I love some of the suggestions that you all already covered, like carrot dogs. Um, One thing that we also do are tempeh burgers. So you can buy tempeh in the grocery store. It's sold right next to tofu and marinate it. And then throw it on the grill, and it gets that sort of charred grilled flavor. And unlike tofu, it doesn't fall apart because it's very hardy. And my kids love that. So that could be a great option. I love the portobello burgers. I love another one of my favorites is throwing Japanese sweet potatoes on the grill. You just buy little ones, you throw them on, and then once they're done, they taste like caramel candy. They're phenomenal.
Whoa, my mind is blown. I have not thought about that. Like, are we talking little baby sweet potatoes?
So they come in different sizes. You can get big ones that are about 6 inches long, about 2, 3 inches in diameter. But then in some of the Asian stores, they sell mini ones, which are about 2 inches long, about an inch in diameter, and just throw them on the grill, and they're fabulous. Just and they come out and they're almost syrupy sweet. They're wonderful.
Ooh, you got my mouth watering. Time for just a couple more. Janelle checked in a little bit earlier. She wants to know whether there is any research on the effects of a whole food plant-based diet on psoriasis. What do we know about that?
Yeah, so good question, Janelle. What we know about psoriasis is, maybe it's an autoimmune condition. It's a complicated disease. And let's explain to those viewers who may not know what psoriasis is. It's a skin condition where people develop these red, whitish plaques. They usually happen on the elbows or knees. And they can be very mild or they can be quite severe. And the treatment usually involves steroids or immunosuppressive agents. So we think the immune system is hyperactive, and that's maybe what's causing it. And while we don't have definitive research about plant-based diets in psoriasis, we do know from other autoimmune conditions that following a plant-based diet can bring our immune system back in control so that it's not so hyperactive. For example, asthma improves or allergies improve. So presumably psoriasis could improve too. And, in my opinion, it's worth a try because a plant-based diet is good for us for so many other reasons as well.
Kind of a follow-up question to what we were talking about a little bit earlier. This one is from Nicolette. She wants to know, what are ideal portion sizes for grains throughout the day in order to not overconsume them?
Yeah. So just a rule. Again, let me preempt this by saying everybody's different. If you're a 200-pound athlete, your requirements are completely different than a 100-pound petite person who may not be exercising as much. So just those are the extremes. And it really depends. I would say try to aim for half a cup of cooked grains, whether it's brown rice or pasta or, quinoa, whatever grain that you enjoy. Try to keep it whole grain. Try to stick with about half a cup, and then pair it with other nutritious things like legumes, like vegetables, like fruits. Avoid pairing it with high-fat foods like nuts or nut butters or seeds or avocados or olives, or using vegan butters or vegan cheeses. Those things definitely contribute to weight gain. So try to keep it low fat, and then just be mindful of your portions. See where you fall on that spectrum.
All right. Last question comes to us from Best Health Lifestyle. I believe this is the young man that watches us every day. Wants to know, I usually have lentils with steamed broccoli and steamed beets. Is this nutritious enough? I'm not the doctor, but I would go out on a limb and say yes.
Yeah, I think you can't go wrong with that. I absolutely agree with you, Chuck. That sounds wonderful. Keep doing that. There's nothing not nutritious about what you just described.
And all these recipes today, Dr. Rahman. Michael just chimed in the comment section, said that my drool is now at Olympic level. That's a little bit gross, but I mean, I'm glad that we're making your mouth water, Michael.
Yeah, it's great. And you know what else I love? I love those roasted sweet potatoes with like some of the veggie chili on top. That's just amazing.
Oh, that sounds so good too. Absolutely. You know what I've been doing a lot recently is just a plain sweet potato. I'll throw some steamed kale on top of that. And then I'll just throw a little bit of spaghetti sauce on that. Just, some regular tomato sauce on top of that. It sounds like a weird concoction, but once it hits your mouth, it's all good.
Yeah, it sounds great, actually. Yeah.
All right. So here's the deal. If we didn't get to your question today, no worries. We will log it and try to get you an answer on an upcoming episode. So that means you can keep on posting them, and we will add that to our archive. You can also tweet them to us at Chuck Carroll WLC or at PCRM using the hashtag Exam Room Podcast. And Dr. Rahman, people can schedule an appointment to see you or Lee over at the Barnard Medical Center. You can do that right now by visiting barnardmedical.org or pick up the phone and call 202-527-7500. Dr. Rahman, the thing that I really love about the BMC, the practice there, is that you all really do work to treat the cause of the problem and not just the symptom.
Yeah, absolutely, Chuck. We recognize that so much of chronic disease is tied into diet and lifestyle, and we really have to tackle the root cause if we can help our patients get better control and possibly even reverse their disease.
That would be fantastic. So if you want to get on board the health train and you live in California, New York, Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, Missouri, Arizona, Colorado, Massachusetts, or Kentucky, any one of those locations, you can schedule an appointment right now. Again, you see that web address on your screen, barnardmedical.org, or pick up the phone and call 202-527-7500. Hopefully, we're going to get some new states online in the near future. This long weekend, if you need something to do, why not check out the Exam Room Podcast, our sister show here, over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever shows are available. I really think you will find today's show in particular just to be mind-blowingly fascinating. I had the opportunity to do an interview with Hugo and Ross Turner. These are identical twins based in London. And for 12 weeks, they ran an experiment. Hugo adopted a vegan diet. Ross continued eating meat. So what do you think happened over those 12 weeks? Both of these guys, extremely fit individuals. They're explorers by trade. Literally, they are like modern day Lewis and Clark here. They go out and they are in such incredible shape. But for 12 weeks, they wanted to know what would happen if one went vegan and one didn't. They have identical DNA. And just in that short 3-month span, the changes were incredible, particularly the weight and the cholesterol. Two things that we talk about extensively here on the show. So if you want to check that out, head over to Apple Podcast or Spotify or Stitcher. Look for the Exam Room Podcast brought to you by the Physicians Committee. Hit that subscribe button and start listening. And if you would be so kind as to also leave a 5-star rating, we would greatly appreciate it. Also, just a quick heads up that there will be no show tomorrow. We will be off celebrating the long holiday weekend, probably firing up the grill here, testing out those recipes that we've been talked about today, see if we can get our drool going at an Olympic level as well. So we will talk to you again on Monday. Dr. Neil Barnard will be back on the show at that time. My thanks to our incredible crew behind the scenes, producer Laura Anderson, as well as our director, Donna Steele. And for Dr. Vanita Rahman and dietitian Lee Crosby, the Fiber Queen, and everybody here at the Physicians Committee, I am the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll. Thank you so very much for watching. And until Monday, stay safe, take a stand, and keep it plant-based.